Hello, welcome to the forecast for October 20th until 26th. My name's Desiree de Lunae, your acupuncturist, herbalist, and astrologer. And we've got multiple events going on this week. We've got a new moon in Libra, and then we have Neptune going back into Pisces. It's in retrograde. And then lastly, Sun is going into Scorpio. So we're going to be heading into the middle of fall season. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. And please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell so that you are notified every time a new video is up each week. So you are well prepared for each week ahead. All right, let me make this big. And we will begin. We have got, let me move this around, my bad. Here we go. So here is Monday, and we have our sun in the last few degrees of Libra. Moon is here, which they're going to come together on Tuesday for our new moon. And Venus is here. I have loved Venus in Libra. Venus actually rules Libra. It's in its home sign. And so the sun and the moon right now are very well supported. So as you can tell, we have Libra on our mind and on our hearts. This is where a lot of our attention is going, where our focus is going. And what is Libra? What is Venus? What is all this about? Well, we're dealing with beautification. We're dealing with the arts. We're dealing with harmony. We're dealing with relationships too. It's about connection and togetherness and great conversations and just warm-heartedness and openness and just like bringing people together and making, environments that feel very serene and harmonious and peaceful. So, it's a really sweet sign that is just bringing the best out of one another and also wanting to add more beauty and adding more peace and harmony into the world and into our lives. So, this is a lot of good creative energy. This is a good time to, go to a gallery, go to a lovely, fine dining type of experience. It's going to the symphony and going to see plays, musicals, whatever, anything that is just artistic in nature is going to be enjoyed more right now with all of this attention in Libra. So this is one thing we do need to be cautious of because Sun is in square with Jupiter is overdoing it. Yes, overindulgence or even like overcommitting. This we can get possibly a bit confident and which is fine, but we just don't want to overshoot that and then, like promise more than we can actually deliver on things. So we do have that square, but thankfully Jupiter is exalted here in Cancer. So I think that's quite helpful. Now, I do want to point out this Mars-Mercury. Oh, I forgot to put this in the beginning highlights. This is actually quite significant. Look at this. Mars and Mercury are both at 19 degrees. They are exact. And Mars rules Scorpio. So here, Mars is powerful, Mars is strengthened, it's in its home sign. So what is Mars in Scorpio? Mars in Scorpio is intense, it is passionate, it's obsessive, it is focused, it is strategic, it is like deep diving into something, taking action. It's possibly a bit controlling for sure. But then you have Mercury, which deals with our mind and our thought processes and our mental focus too. So here, our mental focus is so incredibly sharp. It is direct, it is clear, it is like moving forward. I mean, talk about serious strategic planning and creative problem solving. It's at its finest right now with Mars and Mercury. Now, I will say though, there's a downside. If you think about it, Mars is the planet of war and violence and aggression, anger, it's combative. And then you have Mercury, which is words. So, being a little bit more combative with our speech, being a little bit more aggressive in our speech and in our thinking, maybe kind of being dominating within conversations. These are some of the things to look out for. So, take a pause, make sure you're not saying something mean, because Scorpio energy, this all being in Scorpio, can sting. It stings and it has venom. Okay. It's very sharp. It penetrates. It can hurt, but it can also penetrate and be very transformative and be very, very healing. So we'll probably be a bit more bolder in what we say, a bit more honest and truthful, and not just kind of like beat around the bush or sugarcoat anything. I mean, it's just direct. And it's not, it might not be like, it might not sound sweet and nice and pleasant. No, it's sharp, penetrating, direct, honest, raw, can sting a little, can hurt a little. So there's probably going to be a lot more truth and honesty just flying around in the air in our conversations. Now, I will say there's also a little bit of a trine to Saturn. It's about 7 degrees away, but there's a little bit of a trine. But I think that's very supportive and very helpful because it does add that structure. It does add some of that wisdom and maturity in the way that we're speaking, in the way that we are planning and acting. So that's a nice little supportive thing. We do have Jupiter that's also, actually there's a grand trine. So it's Jupiter, Mars-Mercury, okay, and then Saturn. So when we kind of put this all together, is that Jupiter is very expansive. It is about growth and development. And so here there's also a lot of wisdom too with Jupiter and insight. And that's only adding to this. So, the things that we say and the actions that we take are ones that are expansive in nature, that are going to help with our growth. And they are very grounded and stable. And that's the beauty of Saturn that adds to this whole mixture, is it isn't just like so fantastical and delusional, because sometimes Jupiter could do that. However, it's in a trine. And Saturn's part of this. So we have like a very solid plan of action, and we are moving forward with it. And it's grounded in reality. It's really practical. It's doable. It's something that can come into material form. So this is a very, very helpful grand trine that we have. It's only going to get stronger throughout the week as Mars and Mercury is going to come closer to this 24, 26 degree mark, like throughout the week. So that's going to be very helpful. And even like with this Mercury, that of course Mercury is in trine with the Saturn too, even our thinking is more orderly, it's more organized. Like we're starting to see the fine details, having more clarity around the details, but we also have that greater vision because of Jupiter, that greater vision in mind too. So I love how we have a combination of both the bird's eye perspective as well as the fine details to get us to that bird's eye perspective. So it's really like a nice mixture. It's very harmonious, it's balanced, and it's effective. That's ultimately what I want to say. Okay, now on Tuesday, we have a new moon here, and the new moon is happening at 28 degrees of Libra, okay? And also remember, Venus is in this sign as well. Venus rules Libra. So this, in a way, really strengthens this new moon. So my question to you is, where in your chart do you have Libra? What house is Libra in? Because now that we're in a new moon, what you want to do is plant new moon seeds that are Libra, in a theme, but also relative to the house that it is in your life. Now, if you're part of my Rise and Thrive membership, I provide a new moon ritual every single month with actual like steps that you got to take and certain questions that you answer to really intentionally plant these new moon seeds, especially considering what house that it's in. So here, this is a new beginning, right? New moon is a new beginning. So we're going to plant something new, especially in the area of relationships. And you know, what's another feature of this is that there is a trine to Saturn for this new moon, okay? We have Saturn at 26 degrees. And what does Saturn bring? Saturn brings, oh, actually, no, it doesn't. Never mind. No, it is a square to Jupiter. This is something else. So scratch that part. But it is it has a square to Jupiter. So that is the extra feature that we have here. Now, look, one of the things that I really want to point out for this new moon, because Libra, one of its indicators, and Venus is our relationships and our connection. And Jupiter here is so like open-hearted, affectionate, warm, friendly, like, I mean, loves to be with people too. And when we have a square, the thing that we have to be cautious of, and I already talked about this on Monday, is like over giving, overdoing, overcommitting. Okay. People pleasing. People pleasing is like a major issue sometimes when we're dealing with the shadow expression of Libra. So here in this new moon, let's really evaluate our relationships and the give and take within our relationships, the dynamics of our relationships. Are you giving too much in the relationship? Are you receiving enough, or are you receiving too much? Picture this. Instead of feeling drained, doubting yourself, and putting everyone else first, instead, you are confidently expressing yourself, your boundaries, living on fire with your soul's mission, and experiencing this deep well of inner peace. This transformation, it's possible. I live it myself every day, and that's why I created Rise and Thrive. This is a transformative membership that combines the wisdom of Chinese medicine, essential oils, and other healing practices that shift you from surviving to thriving. So click down in the link below to join the Rise and Thrive membership so that you too can live a life in harmony, in peace, and in deep, authentic alignment with your true essence. Okay? I mean, it goes both ways, right? Are you receiving too much and not giving enough? So that's something you want to evaluate. And like, you know, what is how valuable is this exchange that you have with the people in your life? You know, that's something to really consider. Is it mutually beneficial? Is it not? Another thing too with this new moon in Libra, maybe considering, all right, where can I plant these seeds of pleasure and fun, you know, and enjoyment? Like that is something Libra cares a lot about, is recreation and relaxation. And, you know, this is not the sign that wants to grind it out. It's the sign that has to do with, you know, really enjoying the simple pleasures of life too. That's what Venus does. It's indulging in our pleasures. So take a look at, do you have enough of pleasure and play and recreation in your life as well? If not, this is the time to like plant those new moon seeds and plant those intentions of, okay, how am I going to intentionally bring in more pleasure and play into my life? Okay, so that's another possible way to look at this new moon. All right, let's take a look at Wednesday. On Wednesday, we have quite a change. It's going to happen possibly in the evening. Let me see. Definitely by Thursday, but we have Moon that has transitioned to Scorpio, and Sun is probably going to happen in the evening. It's going to follow suit very soon. But Moon is officially in Scorpio on Wednesday, and that's going to be a big change. Moon is not in its happiest position in Scorpio, so there might be a little bit more emotional intensity, more volatility. And then on top of that, you know, it's going to be coming together with Mars towards the end of the day, like in the evening. So with each passing hour on Wednesday, it's getting closer and closer to Mars until it hits it in the evening. So that is definitely going to stir up that intensity. It might bring a little bit more irritability. It might bring more energy too. I mean, it's a very young planet, Mars, and it's strong here in Scorpio. So you might have increase in vitality. You might want to do some physical movement and activity. This might be a good day to go to the gym. Okay. Just to expel some of that extra energy. But it might not feel so like comfortable on this day. You might have some restlessness going on in the background. And in general, our minds are just going quite a bit because Mars has been so close to Mercury. We had that conjunction back on Monday, and they're still like 2 degrees apart on Wednesday. So between our energy body and our mind, like there is a lot of activity. There's a lot happening underneath the surface. So if you are wondering like what is going on, I feel like I've had so much like espresso or something. It could be because of this configuration. Okay, now let me see if, yes, this is another big day, big moment here on Wednesday. It happens in the morning. And Neptune has been in Aries for a bit, okay, this year. And it's been in retrograde, but it has officially, on this day, entered back into Pisces. And it's going to be here in Pisces until January 26th of 2026. So in some ways, it could feel like a relief. Neptune does well in Pisces. Neptune doesn't really like have an affinity towards Aries. As you can tell, while Neptune was in Aries, Neptune represents a lot of like what the collective has their mind on, what's trending culturally, what's popular, and where is society as a whole? Because it's an outer planet. It has a collective global impact. And Aries often represents violence and aggression and war. And clearly we have seen quite an increase in that this year as Neptune has been in Aries. There's like a glorification of war and aggression and violence. And so I'm actually relieved that Neptune is going to come back here and hang out here until January 26th. And Neptune loves Pisces. Pisces is about compassion and togetherness and connection, like the connection of the human community. There is way more love here, okay? Whereas this has a lot of anger and rage. So this will feel probably a little sweeter for a lot of us. Yeah, but there are positives to Neptune being in Aries as well. However, I must say that for the time that we've seen it, it's definitely caused quite a ruckus in the human collective society. Absolutely, there's been a lot more violence that we've seen. So that's going to be here, and we do have Neptune now even trining like Mars and Mercury, which I feel like is very nice. It's going to bring, again, that kindness and that compassion and that empathy as well. So it's going to add that feature too here. All right, now Thursday. Officially, the sun is in Scorpio. So this means we are in full swing Scorpio season. We are in the middle of fall. Do you feel it in the air? I love fall so much. So Scorpio energy, this is more of a yin. It's water, right? So it's more internal. It's more reflective. This is a really nice time to work on your energy, to work on your emotional well-being, doing shadow work, doing things that are revealing what's, underneath the waters, what's subconscious. So any kind of like psychological, emotional type of work is beneficial when we have all of this scorpionic energy. I mean, we have 4 planets at this point, right here. We've got the sun, the moon, we have Mars and Mercury all together. And look at this, moon is just smack dab right in the middle. It's sandwiched between Mars and Mercury at this time in the morning of Thursday. So everything Mars, everything Scorpio, our mind, our feelings, our emotions, our action, our confidence, like our purpose, everything is just all wrapped up in this scorpionic energy. So it is a very transformative sign. You know, it is dealing with the deep, like, waters of our subconscious. It's about death and rebirth. So it's not, pretty flowers and a nice picnic by any means, but it's raw, it's real, it's honest, it's intense, it's powerful. I mean, talk about like really claiming your power. That will be a really nice lesson to learn, is really taking ownership of your power and your sovereignty. Because that's something that Scorpio, on a difficult side, on a shadow expression, is dealing with power struggles and authority and like domination and control and manipulation. So here, this has a whole like, don't you dare mess with me kind of energy here. And it does have some support from Saturn here, which then further, like, Saturn is really good with boundaries, okay? And so it's really solidifying, like, okay, this is who I am, this is what I want, this is what I need, this is where I want to go, this is what I want to do. Because Mars is a very like what I want. And Mars is strengthened here, right? So it's really strengthening all of the other planets here too. Okay, another thing, let me see. Yes, I want to mention it actually happens on Friday. Friday, you'll see that Sun has a square to Pluto. Look, 1 degree Sun, 1 degree Pluto. This is exactly 90 degrees, which is a square, and that's strong and intense. I have this configuration right now. Like, I have Pluto that is squaring my natal sun. So I feel this impact like for years. It's a 2-3 year transit. It's a very long transit because Pluto moves very slowly. And so here we're talking about, wow, change, transformation in our identity, in our purpose, in our vitality. This is a pretty significant square. I mean, it happens like once a year, because the sun takes a year to come all the way around. But here, this is a great opportunity. One of the things Pluto does is it is removal of waste. It impacts the elimination organs in our system. So here, talking about like shedding and releasing that last bit of this old version of you. And remember, we're just all going through this massive evolution as a collective. So this is just going to be a bit more personal. And then also, remember we talked about power struggles, like knowing where you've been giving your power away here, and claiming that power back. So another thing that Pluto and Scorpio deal with is, like I said, truth and honesty. So if there have been things that you have been avoiding or been in denial of, or pretending is not an issue, but it really is an issue, it's going to surface. It's going to be right there in front of you, and it's going to be difficult to run away or hide from very serious matters or serious issues or difficulties that you may have in certain areas of your life. So this is igniting, and squares are not always comfortable. So this is kind of like a catalyst for change and healing and purging and eliminating and shifting. So that's a very strong square that we've got going. However, I do like the fact that on this day that Moon has transitioned into Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is very optimistic and usually a bit more joyful and enthusiastic, adventurous. And so having Moon here is helpful while we have this Sun-Pluto square. And with this Moon in Sagittarius, it's going to help us to see the silver lining. It's going to help us see the greater vision of why things need to go and why things need to change. And it'll make you just feel more optimistic and just more hopeful about what's going on. So that is very sweet. I do appreciate that. Let's see. We also will have on this day moon that is in opposition to Uranus, and that can absolutely bring like a bit of a jolt of sudden change, or a change in your mood, change in your feelings, change in your thinking or beliefs about something too, because Sagittarius often impacts like our worldview and how the lens in which we see the world, essentially. Okay, let's see if there's anything else here. I've talked about this grand water trine, but it is definitely more tight. It's tighter. So when we see that Jupiter is here at 24 degrees, Mercury is here at 24 degrees, and then we have Saturn at 26 degrees, I would say Neptune's part of this grand trine too. But the one with Mercury, Jupiter, and Saturn are the tightest at this moment. So talk about like that. I think that's fantastic actually, because we have Moon in Sagittarius that makes you feel more hopeful and optimistic. But then Jupiter talking to Mercury exactly trine also helps you to see, and see with your mind and how you've been planning things that, wow, this plan it's legit. Like it's actually going to lead to this growth and expansion. So, and then Saturn brings that grounded reality. So it's a combination of growth and structure, expansion, but with a good solid foundation. And it's so creative, it's genius. You get that genius energy from Uranus. So yeah, this might be one of those days that just like pop you open and you just see things very clearly, the future ahead of you. Okay, so Saturday, we've got some moon square. So we have moon, it's still in Sagittarius, but it might be quite humbled by this square to Saturn. Saturn sometimes can bring that sense of heaviness or self-doubt, and loneliness even too. And we still have this sun square Pluto. That's pretty intense. Look, if you're not, does it have a sextile? Okay, it does have a sextile to Venus. So I'd say that's something that's helpful. Venus does bring more harmony and sweetness and peace. So thank you, Venus, for giving us that. But if you feel overall a bit heavier on Saturday, not feeling as bright and light as you were on Friday, it's fleeting though. Just understand it's fleeting. It'll probably be more intense in the later afternoon, and then it'll start to go away and disappear. So just know that that's fleeting. Okay, Sunday, we have moon that you'll notice in the morning it's here in Sagittarius, but by the afternoon and rest of the day, it's actually going to be in Capricorn. I'm sorry, I don't have an image for it because the moon moves a degree every hour, and I had set this to 9 a.m. Central. So by 11 a.m. Central, which is 12 Eastern, so by noon, the moon will actually be in Capricorn, and that will be a nice like stabilizing force here. Capricorn makes us feel grounded. It makes us feel calmer in some sense, but it's also like, let's just take care of what needs to be taken care of. So even while moon in Sagittarius is like, oh my gosh, let's go have some fun, let's go on an adventure. Whereas Capricorn is like, okay, let's get to work. Let's take care of what needs to be taken care of. I do notice that we are going to eventually start getting this Mercury as it goes into Sagittarius soon. But Uranus is in opposition to Mercury. It's begun. Okay. It's about 5 degrees away from this opposition. So that's really nice. So that would be 175 degrees away from Uranus and Mercury. And Mercury and Uranus together, they bring like flashes of insight and revelation and wisdom and enlightenment. So it's only going to add. It's only like, especially as the days move forward and into next week, it's with this Mercury in Scorpio. I mean, wow, your level of like ideas just shooting at you from the cosmos. Like, talk about enlightenment, powerful, sudden, out of the blue revelations that you can never plan or predict. You're not going to know when it's going to happen. It could happen while you're sitting at a red light. Okay. Just random, those shower moments where you're like, oh, Oh my gosh. So expect more of those coming starting today and definitely into the next week. And then on top of that, this Mercury, it's getting that tight trine to Saturn, exact trine to Saturn. It will eventually now connect with Neptune, have a trine to Neptune. So we'll talk about this more next week, but just the amount of imagination and creativity and insight and wisdom that we are just plugged into, it's only increasing. It's only elevating, it's only increasing. So that is our forecast for the week. I hope this was enlightening and enjoyable, and you are feeling very strong and ready for the next week to come. I look forward to seeing you in the next forecast. Do you find yourself giving more than receiving, doubting your worth, and maybe even hiding your powerful gifts from the world? These are signs of someone being disconnected with their soul's highest expression. I'm Desiree de Lunae, an acupuncturist, herbalist, and astrologer. And through my own healing journey of self-discovery, I have learned how to shift these lower frequency states into empowered living. I use Chinese medicine, essential oils, astrology, as well as work that brings together ancient wisdom and modern healing practices. So I want to introduce to you Rise and Thrive. This is a unique membership program where you'll be receiving quarterly workshops, guided meditations, and essential oil blend recipes that are specifically designed for empathic, hypersensitive women like you. Unlike other one-off workshops or some generic self-help program, understand that Rise and Thrive offers ongoing support, practical tools that help you to create lasting and progressive transformation. So at just $61 per quarter, it is the most affordable way to work with me consistently. So click on the link down below, join the Rise and Thrive membership, the community, and begin your journey into living your authentic, empowered life.